From the latest drops to the hottest takes, this is Joy Conversations. Hello and welcome. My name is Tad Slee, other words known as Tadbusters. Today we're talking about every single Star Fox game and ranking them from S tier all the way down to D. With me, I have Tyler, SuitAndTyler. Tyler, how you doing? How you feeling about ranking some Star Fox games with me today?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to rank these Star Fox games. This is a really interesting franchise. It's done a lot of twists and turns, done a lot of also no pivots with how many remakes it ends up having. So it's going to be fun to kind of try to really dissect and pick apart where these go on this list.
So you're probably more of a Star Fox fan than I am. Tell me a little bit about your history with Star Fox and how long have you been playing these titles?
Yeah, I'm in love with the Star Fox games. I've been playing, it's one of those things like being super young and being able to play on the 64 way back in the day. And then kind of mostly, I would say it was mostly leaned towards that childhood era of getting bits and pieces on 64 and then getting the GameCube and hitting up. I actually never even did Adventures at the time. Assault was my thing growing up. I ended up getting to Adventures later.
Ah, cool.
And just, kind of getting it piecemeal throughout my whole life.
That's so funny because I was kind of the opposite way, the opposite Star Fox titles. Like I was the Star Fox Adventures kind of guy. And I didn't play, I don't think, 3D until a couple of years ago. So I probably have less of experience with Star Fox than you do. But when I get into one of those titles, I get hooked into them. So we've got the tier list here already pulled up. And I'm thinking, we just kind of jump in here. We initially throw some thoughts here. And I think since you're more of a Star Fox veteran than I am, I'll let you start this off. So let's start with the OG Star Fox. What are your thoughts there? Where do we put this bad boy?
Star Fox 1, I think, is a really interesting game. Again, my history is more like I said, bit of 64, getting more really into Assault. During the GameCube era, that was a big part. GameCube was a big part of my my Nintendo life in a way, my Nintendo experience, let's say. So that's where a lot of that hangs on. And then getting this 3DS and one of the first games being 64 3DS then. But so I never got to the first Star Fox until much later, and it's really interesting. Playing it after 64, from my experience, really showcases how 64 even is just a remake of this first game in a lot of ways.
Right.
But I think it's so interesting is how strong that gameplay still stands even on the SNES. The technical achievement it's super impressive. And you can tell that it's they're trying to push this hardware as far as they can, really inspired by the amazing sci-fi cinema that came around. It immediately opens and it's just so Star Wars coded, and has that kind of level of energy to it. But yeah, and it plays like Star Fox, I think a lot of people expect with the shooting. How about you? What is your experience with the first Star Fox?
Yeah, my Star Fox OG experience is pretty similar to yours. It's a game that I didn't get around to till much later in life. My first Star Fox game was Star Fox 64. It was a 64 household for us. So I didn't jump into Star Fox till probably in my late teens. And the first time I got my hands on it, you feel the jank. You feel how this title definitely isn't it doesn't have that same nostalgia that I think it would for somebody who played it back then the first time, right? It doesn't have that same kind of core sparkle because it's a little bit of an older game, right? So jumping
you
back
kind of have
into
to really wear those nostalgia glasses going in, or at least just look at it in the lens of what it was back then to fully appreciate it. It's kind of hard to just jump in now, and just be like, why isn't Star Fox's eyeball in 17K,
Well, and then the polygons back then and the character models were very odd. The mouth syncs were very odd. It's definitely a product of its time. So for Star Fox, the OG, I went back and I played it probably when I was 18, 19, and I enjoyed it. I don't think I would put it up for me just personally the same hierarchy as I would Star Fox 64. That was just the peak and my first entryway into Star Fox. So for me, I'd probably put Star Fox in the A tier, but I can see how this might be for you an S tier game because this is kind of the one that started it all.
Yeah, I'm actually with you on that. I'm with A tier. I think it is not S tier because of what it has evolved into. There are so many. This formula what has been just iterated on to the point where it got to the S tier. I think at the time this is definitely something that people could see as an S tier. I can see that just like from the get-go, even playing it much later. Like it hits an A tier for me because of just how technologically impressive it is, knowing that this was on like how old the hardware was at the time and just how simple and fun the gameplay was. There is jankiness to it. You can tell like it's not a refined formula like they would get to later. It's not as readable, as impressive as like the graphics are to me on like seeing it running on that console. It's just so hard to read the screen half the time trying to shoot all these things.
Yeah.
Some of the enemies, like they try their best with like making sure that you know like what you need to shoot is flashing, but it kind of just becomes a bunch of flashing triangles and a sea of other triangles sometimes, and it gets a little crazy. That is something that definitely gets improved later on with higher fidelity. But I still think it's super cool game. Even today, I'd put it at A.
Yeah, I mean, we clearly would not be where we are today without Star Fox, or the Star Fox series would not be where they are today without the OG Star Fox. Yeah, Star Fox, I remember picking up from a convention in a couple of years ago for the SNES. And I have a little CRT right next to me. And so I spent, I think, like an afternoon playing through it. And it is cool. I will say playing these like, and this just goes for any SNES game, I think, in my opinion, is playing them on a CRT enhances that experience and makes you put on those nostalgic goggles because you kind of get into a position of where you were as a kid, sitting on the floor, crisscross applesauce, and spending the afternoon or a weekend picking these up at Blockbuster and renting these. So that's why I had such a great experience with it. And I think it is a pretty enjoyable game compared to some other Star Fox titles that we're going to get into. So the second one, though, Star Fox 2 here. This is a little divisive, and I'm sure you might agree. Have you played Star Fox 2?
Yeah, this one's just so fascinating. I mean, playing it, you kind of understand. I mean, this game was way later released. It was pretty much a canceled Star Fox game that they ended up releasing later on as like a bonus for the, I believe, the SNES Classic.
It was the SNES Classic.
Yeah, that's when it first came out. And you can kind of tell it's super interesting because of how much like the direction they take of what they're trying to expand Star Fox into. I feel like Star Fox, as the game's go on, you start to see like there really are a technical showcase in a lot of different ways, and that's how Nintendo kind of treats it. And there is this level of bombast that Nintendo wants to hit with it. I think Star Fox 2 was them trying to do that with like this really interesting map system that instead of doing traditional levels, you're kind of having to almost do like a little real-time strategy battle between your villain, going to different areas, getting in their way, and having that would like lock you into specific dogfights. It reminds me of like Galactic Conquest from Battlefront 2. Have you ever played that?
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, like it reminds me of that, like as like the single player solo game. It's super interesting, but ideas that do feel unfinished as you play on. And that's what I think kind of really holds it back. And yeah, it's going to be hard for me to see this like anywhere near Star Fox 1 right now or in the A's. Like this has to go below Star Fox 1 for me. But what about you?
Yeah, I think this is an S tier game. No, I'm just joking.
I mean, like I could see it. Like I feel like this is somebody's S tier game because there is such an interesting take on it. Yeah. And there's a lot to love about the ideas, but the execution's kind of what gets into it. But
yeah, Star Fox 2, I think, is just one of those titles that was very experimental. It's also a little bit more like tactile than Star Fox 1. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is where the R-Wing transforms into the tank, right? It can transform into the tank like it did in Star Fox Zero in this title?
Yes, they do. I mean, not the Landmaster, like an assault, not that big of a tank, but it's that like Walker, because
That's right.
they kind of homage it in Zero and kind of use it
Yeah,
there
right.
later on.
You can tell that the ideas clearly influenced a lot of what was going to then become Star Fox 64 because I mean, I think it had the all ranged mode as well, which
Hmm.
was I remember playing through that and just being like, I can see a lot of core mechanics that they eventually would pull to become 64. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this was canceled because they switched to the Nintendo 64 Star Fox, right? They were in the mid development
How
of
is
it.
that what it was? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually news. Like, I'm not even 100% sure where the cancellation happens or what the reason was. I mean, I could see that, like, this kind of experimental thing. They're moving on to a new console. It's not really working out. They finally have the technology on the 64 to expand it the way they want to, and they just abandoned this idea altogether.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That or the producers or the board, started playing this game and they were like, this ain't it, Chief.
Yeah.
We need you guys to take this and pivot towards something else. It is, I will say, cool for its history being a shelved, lost game. And the fact that Nintendo released it anyways on 20 years later on the NES Classic or the SNES
Mhm.
Classic is just so bizarre. And I really have to give props to Nintendo for that. Um, Unfortunately, I think it's not a great game. I would probably put it in the C tier
Yeah. See,
because
I'm feeling that too.
yeah, I just don't think that it has a whole lot of merit other than it's a cool title to play if you're a fan of Nintendo and you want to learn a little bit of history. It was cool that you got it with the SNES Classic. I don't remember if you can do multiplayer or not with it. It's
I
been
don't
so long.
believe so. I'm not
Okay.
too sure though. Yeah.
Because I feel like it would have been a cool title to like play with another person if you had the SNES Classic. Man, I'm thinking of that. We need to bring back those SNES classics. Like, what happened to the 64 classic, or, us getting a Game Boy Classic? Like,
What are you talking about? It's called the Nintendo Switch Online service. That's what they did. You're gonna pay a subscription for it now instead of a flat fee. That's
you're
how they
not
get
wrong.
you.
Relic of the past. Jumping over to the next one, which I have fond memories of. Like I said, this is the first Star Fox that I ever played. Star Fox 64. How are you feeling about Star Fox 64? What are your first memories of this title?
I don't think I've even heard of this game before. To be honest. No, I love Star Fox 64. Yeah, playing it on the original hardware on the 64. Again, that's those same feelings of playing the first one. Like it's just such a technical achievement for what at the time what they can do on there, and it's a more refined version of the gameplay. Again, I think this is where it does start to solve that readability issue because of the technology. You can kind of get more detail on these character designs that helps the player kind of know where to shoot, what to do a little better. Still pretty rudimentary for today's standards. I mean, it's a 64 game, but it's has a lot of charm. It's where the characters really fleshed out. It's where they added multiplayer on this one too. You can see that it's like that next level of Star Fox of what Nintendo saw in this sci-fi adventure that they wanted to go on.
Yeah, definitely. Star Fox 64 is another product of its time, but it's a little bit more digestible nowadays, I think. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of I'm a big fan of the Nintendo 64. I have the analog 3D. I have a Nintendo 64 right here next to me and a CRT connected. So anytime I have a chance, I'll put on probably a 64 game if it's going to be of anything. I mean, I have pretty much all the OG classic consoles here, but 64 has just a place in my heart. So I jumped into 64 maybe a month and a half ago just to, kind of feel it out as we were in discussions of the new Star Fox game, just because I wanted to see how it felt to play again. And it actually holds up pretty good. It's definitely rudimentary, compared to the Star Fox titles we have now, but it is enjoyable. And I think I was too young to really kind of understand the core mechanics and the story when I first played it at 5, 6 years old, maybe even younger. And so nowadays as an adult jumping back into Star Fox, is really cool. I have a much more of an appreciation for it. Even though it is kind of like an on-rails shooter for the most part, it does give you some flexibility here and there. Um, I think for me, Star Fox 64, not just because of the nostalgic goggles, not saying that it's not 100% not a part of that though. Star Fox 64 for me is an S tier game. And yeah, I'm glad you agree with that, because I think, again, this is the game that's been remade. Well, technically, Star Fox is the game that's been remade 4 times, but I feel like Star Fox 64 was the one that like most people remember, right?
Star Fox 1 starts off in such a great foot, best foot forward, great gameplay, and then Star Fox 64 comes and just refines it and makes Star Fox what it is today. And I think that's what pushes it above that Star Fox in A to the S tier. There's a reason they remade Star Fox 1 in the first place. There's a reason they keep remaking 64 afterwards, and they just keep doing it. We'll get into later on, because it is just like that good of a game. Even if it is, like you say on rails, like it's a detractor, but I think it helps really focus on like the trench run style aerial combat that they like excel at.
Yeah, and I mean, we have do a barrel roll is one of the best lines of dialogue in video games. For that alone, I think that deserves the NS tier. Just reading something from here, which I think kind of encapsulates all of what Star Fox 64 is. So Star Fox 64 took the core idea of the original Star Fox and made it faster, more cinematic, and more replayable. Plus, this is way more memorable. It's the game that defined the tone, characters, and identity of the entire series. And I agree with that 100%. I think that's kind of like the OG Star Fox. And I would just love to see another remake of Star Fox 64. We don't have enough.
Oh, if only. If only they just kept remaking it forever. I mean, we'll get into it later. I'll keep this brief, but like it's obvious why they keep doing it, and it's a great system. It's a great jumping off point, great foundation. They do rely on it too heavy, and it starts to become a detractor, and we'll get into why later. But
I think this is going to be the one that's the most divisive.
Oh, I'm curious. Wait, you go first on this.
So I had a love for Star Fox 64, but I became really passionate when it came to Star Fox Adventures. This was one of my first like GameCube games that I remember vividly playing. And I think it felt like Star Fox 64 was made for kids, but Star Fox Adventures was made for adults. And I was still kind of a kid when I played Star Fox Adventures, because it introduced blood. It was introducing some more violent combat, like hand-to-hand combat, than you would playing like a mech game, which I would almost kind of consider Star Fox 64. Because of a lot of nostalgia for Star Fox Adventures, and granted, I haven't replayed it, I would probably put it in the A tier. But I'm curious where you would land on that.
Ooh, A tier. A tier, interesting.
That is heavy nostalgia. That is with heavy nostalgia goggles.
No, and I get that. I mean, like again, I missed this one on when I was GameCube. I actually was more focused on Assault, so I think that's where we're gonna start having our differences. I got to Adventure much later in life, and I'm not big on it. I'm not a big fan. And it's not that it's necessarily a bad game. And I can see like at the time, based on your expectations, based on what you want out of a game, like what you said about Star Fox 64 being like a kid, Adventure feeling more adult at that time. I think of it like how people's reactions are to Twilight Princess and Wind Waker at that time. I think there's where like Twilight Princess was that like mature elevation of the franchise that people wanted. I think Adventure gets like so far removed from what I love about Star Fox, or what I think makes Star Fox, that becomes a detriment. And funny enough, bringing up Zelda, like I think one of the major things is it feels too much like a Zelda game and not really a Star Fox game.
Yeah.
Or especially a Rare game for obvious reasons. And it's something I can't really fault Adventures for, because it wasn't a Star Fox game in the beginning. It was this Rare's dinosaur planet that got retrofitted into Star Fox, and you can definitely feel that. And what you say about like making it more mature, you can that's another part that like wears me down, where the intro is just so lore heavy. It's so
Yes.
heavy on this dinosaur planet. It's taking itself so seriously. And Star Fox does. Like Star Fox wants to be or treat itself like that grand space epic. But I think this kind of just took it in like too serious of a direction, too expansive in the wrong ways of like playing like a melee combat Zelda, not really being focused on the space flight, on the sci-fi aspects of Star Fox that I love. I'm a huge sci-fi guy, so that's where I was playing this, and I'm like, man, like they're just not. It's not hitting for me. Even I don't even like the R wing. The R wing design kind of sucks. That's not my R wing, you know. Like I do at the same breath, like do understand, like it's a well designed Zelda Rare style game. It's just like. And if this didn't have the Star Fox license, I think I'd come in with different expectations and feel a lot differently about it.
Yeah.
But so like, yeah, what are like more specific aspects that did really resonate with you?
You know, for me, I think it was because it almost like you said, it didn't feel like a Star Fox game, which is why I can feel like fitting this into a Star Fox tier maker category is tough because it almost doesn't feel like a Star Fox title. It feels more like a Zelda title. I really liked, I mean, graphically, it was incredibly impressive back in the time. And being, you know, a young kid, I was looking at the shiny new toy and Star Fox Adventures comes out, and having experience with Star Fox 64, but not knowing that they could deviate and kind of do something different. I thought that this was just kind of a part of Star Fox's tone is, oh, you can be a 3D platformer, you can be a shooter, you can be a mech game. Like, I didn't quite understand what Star Fox was, because I hadn't paid too much attention to the IP. I think I really remember liking the combat, even though it was weird that Star Fox used a staff instead of guns. Like, that just kind of doesn't make sense. I would love
and
to.
It becomes so puzzle heavy too. Like that's where like the Zelda influence starts coming in, and that feels like the stuff that kind of detracts it for me.
Yeah, I would love to see a remake of this one, though, although I don't think we'll ever get it, just because it unfortunately doesn't have that love that I do for it for most people. So, you know, given that I would probably put it in the A tier, I'm guessing you're feeling like C or D here.
I would put it D. We're gonna have to find some middle ground here. I'll give you it on B. I mean, because I'll concede and put it up on B for you. Because I will tell you this, as much as I have like an adverse reaction to it, I think I'd start playing this before I'd go back and do 2. I think I would. Sure. It's a game I'd be more interested in finishing. I think 2 is interesting from a more experimental level, but again, like if this didn't have the Star Fox name, this still is a good game. Like I don't have any like huge faults on it as purely as a 3D action adventure game. And I like what you said, like I would be interested in a remake too, in mainly just because they keep making 64 and I'm like, do something else. But because I do think that there was a lot of potential, and there's something that you can fine tune and maybe make it into something more Star Fox with a remake. Make it feel that way, feel right at home there.
Well, I appreciate you being willing to meet me in the middle. And I would say if we're going to go based on the Metacritic, which is it's an 82% on Metacritic, which is honestly higher than I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if we can both agree to put it in B, I think that's, you know, that's probably even high. I think we're kind of right in the middle ground, right? Between like, if there was a C+, this would probably be a good C+ title. Because I'm looking at it with the goggles of being a kid and playing this when I was young. So I understand that I have a lot of nostalgia and love for it, but being a great game and I need to go back and replay it, then yeah, I'd probably put it in the C+ B tier. I'd probably float closer to the B tier just because I have such a love for Star Fox Adventures. If I'm being honest with myself, it's probably my favorite of the Star Fox games entirely, just because it was so different and weird, and I liked that. And I liked that tiny little dinosaur that was like cute, and the fact that it was like you could like beat up like dinosaurs and there was like blood. I was like, this is fucking cool. Being like 8 years old, you know, this is like the simple things in life. Well, cool. Okay. So are we okay putting it in B there?
I mean, you seem like you were selling it for A. Are you okay with putting it in B?
I'm okay. I think that's more realistic.
Okay.
Well, Star Fox Assault here is our next title. I honestly don't have a ton of experience with Star Fox Assault. I've played it through. I remember this title being pretty short, and that's kind of why I'm not the biggest fan of this Star Fox title. Just straight off the guns here, I'd probably put this in like the C territory, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Maybe even B, but I'd probably gravitate more towards C because I remember this title being like 3 hours long. Graphically,
Now,
I thought it was cool though. Go ahead.
now what if it's on the NSO and it's what was that 20-25 a month now for the GameCube? NSO. Anyway, the point was, if it was on a subscription, would you play it then and how would you feel about the length then?
If I've already paid for the subscription, yeah, that's the difference between, I think, playing this back then, where you're paying the full title, and playing it now. Right now, yeah, I'm cool with the short title. I like short games because I can hop in, hop out, and be done with it. But basing this is off of the best Star Fox tier games, I think I would just have to kind of put it on the lower end because this is a shorter title. I'm curious, you have more experience with Star Fox Assault. Where do you feel like this kind of fits in the tier maker list?
So I think this is going to be where I'm of the unpopular opinion, because Star Fox Assault does get a lot of flack. I love this game. I mean, again, this is like, I feel like we're yin and yang here with Adventures and Assault. Like, you growing up with Adventures, having that being a part of your childhood, Assault being more part of mine, and me skipping Adventures. I thought Assault was so cool at the time. I think it's a great evolution of just what this franchise is achieving. Again, I look at every game being another way for Nintendo to flex their technical chops. I think Assault, and what's interesting is this is in a similar vein of Adventures, where it's not fully Nintendo, it's Namco at the time. Just like how Adventures was Rare, but it's really going all out with it. It's got the space battles, it's introduces the Landmaster, it's got a lot of on foot levels, it's doing all of it, and I think it blends all those elements together pretty dang well. I don't think everything is the best version it's been. Like, I do think 64's dedication to the space battles refines it more than what you get from Assault. I don't think it's the best third-person shooter. It's a GameCube third-person shooter. Like, I don't need I say more. But I think it does everything very solid, and the mix of it and the variety that it provides just makes a very impressive game, impressive action game, impressive sci-fi adventure to go on. It feels more in line with what I would want, the next steps I would want to see from Star Fox as it evolves and grows as a space opera epic. But I get it. Like, there are a fair bit of issues with it. So, and with the way, again, like, not the best shooter, not the best version of the space combat, but I think it just blends together really well and I found super impressive. And that was me being the badass, shooting around, thinking like, I'm such a cool kid. Like, oh, I get to jump in the ship now, and I'm running people over with this Landmaster and going crazy. Like, so that was my thing. But
yeah, and that was like off the heels of games where, like Grand Theft Auto, it was cool to be able to jump down on the ground, boots on the ground, run around third person, shoot up a bunch of enemies, jump in your R-Wing, and then fly off and shoot that way. Like, I think titles that had that, and it was definitely a popular and core mechanic back then. For me, it was odd to see the difference, at least graphically, between Star Fox looked different than he did in Adventures than he did in Assault. He almost kind of went this like more anime-esque style than he was in Adventures. And I just thought that was a little bit jarring. It felt like Star Fox couldn't figure out what it was because it was such a deviation from Adventures. And so that's probably why you and me differentiate kind of opinions here, and why Adventures is higher on my list than yours. So
now, different expectations of like what we see Star Fox on foot should be. I can totally see that. And I'll give you that. I'm going to 100% give you that. The worst thing about this game to me is the character models. I think the R-Wing's awesome. Like I think it has that one over Adventures. I think all those character models feel really like plastic toy-esque. I don't know, the specific art style for them, not my jam.
It's
but
definitely
I'll
odd.
give you that.
I do remember being the multiplayer being one of like the most remembered parts for me though.
Mhm.
It had that really good like split screen multiplayer that you could fight on foot and then in tanks and kind of jump back and forth like we were talking about. It was like it felt like a big title Star Fox game, to be honest. Like it was trying to mix everything together. And I think if it had a longer campaign and felt a little bit like it could have really distinguished itself and knew what it was, because it felt like it was just kind of trying to throw something at the wall and see if it stuck. It didn't feel like it had an identity. And so that's probably why I would put Star Fox Assault in the C tier. I know you have a little bit more of a love for it. Basing off of the Metacritic score, we're at a 67%. So
Yeah.
generally not the most favored Star Fox games. Where would you put this title?
Yeah, that's why I go like I'm an outlier. I want to bump it up on the B. We'll put it. I'll give you this. We'll put it behind Adventures, but I want it on B. For me, I think it feels like the most complete package of a Star Fox game, and it's something I wish. I mentioned it earlier how they keep remaking 64, and it's a blessing and a curse in a way because I do love 64, but I kind of see this as like a great new blueprint to go off, and I really wanted them to spread their wings on like an Assault 2 or something, but there are wings, I should have said. They're going back to the more structured, stricter 64 style and just remaking that over and over again, and that's what is kind of a bummer. Like there's a lot of promise there that it could get to S one day, but
well, spread their wings, no pun intended.
I'm about to fly on this one. I'm a peacock, you gotta let me fly on this.
Hey, you gave me one for Star Fox Adventures, I'll give you one for Star Fox Assault.
We'll literally meet in the middle.
Meet in the middle there. Although I will say, most people say that Star Fox Assault is not a great title. But hey, I love some bad games too. Like Star Fox Commando. How do you feel about Star Fox Commando? I don't hate it. I make it. I joke around, but Star Fox Commando. This is an interesting one. I enjoy it for what it is because it let you kind of make your own path. Right? Like it let you go off, and there were so many different ways to get to the end game. Like the core ending was always going to be the same, but I liked that it had like a new mechanic in a game. And we were like back in the day of the DS where you had like Yoshi, Topsy Turvy, and Wario, the gyro game, where you were having these titles that like had some new kind of mechanics, almost peripherals. And I liked the idea where you could kind of make your own story here. So for me, I think this is like a B tier game as well. I think it's good, but I don't think it's the best of the Star Fox titles, because you play Star Fox 3D and Star Fox 3D kind of enhanced that for me, that portable itch. What about you? Where do you fit into the Star Fox Commando?
So I'm actually hovering in between those A and B sections.
Okay.
I think there's an argument to be had to have this at A. I find it so fascinating. This to me is, you can see like bits and pieces of Star Fox 2 in there with the way the map works, with what they're trying to do with these more open-ended, dynamic dogfights that you run yourself into with the opponent, going back and forth. Again, almost like a real-time strategy game almost like a real-time strategy game, just as much as it is a Star Fox dogfighting game. I found the touchscreen controls to be shockingly good.
Yeah, they were.
If you had told me like you're gonna have to use the touchpad 90% of the time with the stylus and you're gonna control entire, that sounds like a nightmare. And I was like, wow, this feels like how it always should be. It feels so intuitive. Doing all your tricks just feels so snappy. There is parts of it where like there's limitations being on the DS and how expansive these battles can get. I think that's its biggest flaw. And that's like kind of, again, it's almost like 2 steps forward, 1 step back from Assault for me, where they're implementing all these new interesting ideas. They're expanding the scope of Star Fox. They're doing the best they can on a DS. It's almost like part visual novel. It's like a legacy sequel what we get today for Star Fox.
This was a legacy
act-
sequel to Assault, right?
Oh yeah, well, to the original, just like everything, like how they set it all up, and like right away, it's like this really dark, like years have passed, and
Yeah.
Star Fox is divorced now and shit. Like, it's so fascinating. That's the type of stuff where it's like all these interesting ideas that it's like taking those interesting ideas from Star Fox 2, putting them on the DS, elevating them in new ways, trying to mix and match them, and a new cohesive like experience that's unique to Star Fox. I love Assault like an S tier, but I think it like Commando is a better game than that, and I think it could be alongside the original at A.
Yeah, you've definitely hyped me up more on this game than I remember. So I'm inclined to give this a higher rating for sure. I mean, I love that you could play as different characters, and that was something that I always wanted to really dabble with. Playing as like Wolf and Slippy, which were always like my two go-tos. I feel like Slippy is just he's such a cool character. He's so weird, and like we needed to have like a Slippy spin-off. Like,
yeah.
Let's be real. Again, this is hot off the heels of Nintendo doing weird experimental stuff, and using the touchscreen for 90% of the game is crazy. I was wrong. So it doesn't have just one ending. It had multiple endings, right? This had multiple like different endings depending on your choices, and some of them were pretty wild from what I remember. And so I guess
it's like the whole visual novel nature of it. Yeah.
So it doesn't really have a canon ending then, this game. Which I think is kind of weird.
Maybe that's why they're so afraid of doing a sequel, because they have to follow up Command. Which, again, I wouldn't say the story is Shakespeare or anything like that, but it's interesting. Like, I just love that they took a lot of risks doing what they did here. I don't think they fully pan out. I think it does get limited by the DS, but something, again, like Assault, I want to see more, but then they kind of just pivot and abandon these ideas.
Right. And I feel like for me, Star Fox, like the core of Star Fox is always flying in that R-Wing. And as much as I love Star Fox Adventures with like the boots on the ground combat, I feel like Star Fox is at its core is flying. And this was mostly like R-Wing combat again, which I really liked. So I don't know about you. I'm like A tier, A kind of level. I would say it might be tough to give it A. I don't know if, let's see where Metacritic lands on this.
I was gonna be like, I'll close my eyes, I'll look away. You just put it on somewhere, and we'll come back. We'll come back and talk about.
Okay, all right. Here, we'll redo this. It's landed. Tell me what you think.
Okay, we'll take it. We'll take it. Again, it feels mean doing that a bit, putting it like behind Adventure and Assault like that. But at the same time, like.
Oh, well, I just put it on the B tier list. So I didn't know that this is, you pop it in.
Oh, I was just reading it like that. I mean, that's like my mental thing.
Yeah,
like,
no, I've never known tier maker.
ranking.
But yeah, so where would you pop this in between these three? Maybe up at the front?
Like, I would like to put it up front. How about that?
We'll no, I think you're right there. Yeah, I think Star Fox being the number one in the B tier is smart. Is that how this tier maker list usually works? Where
I actually don't know for sure. That's how I've always interpreted it. I don't think it's like a hard set rule. But
okay. No, I think you're right. So based on just the Metacritics, this is actually, we're popping, let's see. Star Fox Commanded is a 76. So yeah, really? This is a little higher than I, initially thought. But you and me talking about this brought back those like kind of core memories of just playing this game and sitting outside and really enjoying my time. I liked the touchscreen. I like touchscreen titles and Nintendo being innovative. I like weird Nintendo, so I'm happy to pop it here, even though I think it's not going to be the most agreed with. Again, this is our list, so you guys might disagree with this, but I'm pretty happy putting it there.
I'm honestly shocked Adventures got an 86 on Metacritic, and that's not even me saying like. It's not me trying to say that as like I don't like it. I'm just like I thought there was a bigger contention between the two even at the time.
Star Fox Adventures.
Yeah, so I'm just surprised to hear that. But.
Well, it's in an 82, so it is a little lower.
Oh, completely. It's garbage then. I don't play anything under an 85.
Under an 85, no, 100%. Yeah, but it is obviously like very divisive. There are the critics and the user reviews. You have a 4 and then you have a 10. So like. You can see where people really feel like this is maybe arguably the most divisive Star Fox title. Star Fox 3D 64 or Star Fox 64 3D. I really love this game. This, I think, took everything from Star Fox 64 and made it into a really shiny new toy on the 64, hot off the heels of like when The Legend of Zelda was getting remade on the 3DS. I played this like a couple of weeks ago. Again, I didn't play through it, but I got my fill of it, and I really like this game. You're probably not going to love where I put it, but maybe you will. I would put this in the A tier range. I have a feeling you're probably more B tier here. What are your thoughts on Star Fox 64 3D?
Well, this is the most disappointing Star Fox. No, I'll raise you one. I say we put an S tier.
Really? Okay. No kidding.
I think Star Fox 64 is a fantastic remake. I think it really elevates. I feel like it's almost understated how much little things it adds, but how it keeps the core of the game pretty much entirely intact with really great visuals. Shocking for a 3D game. Shocking for a 3DS game, the visuals. The 3D itself is fantastic. I think it is a smart game to showcase the 3D on your 3DS with the way the depth of field works. I think the little quality of life improvements are really nice to have. They kind of modernize it in just the right ways without going overboard and rewriting like what makes the game so fun. It reminds me of like the MGS3 remake we had recently, where it's like only going to touch up on stuff that needs the improvement. We're not going to fix anything that isn't broken. Mm-hmm. And so,
yeah, I think you put, and I'm more inclined to agree with you now that we've talked through it. Mostly because Star Fox 64, I think, is a great title for what it is at the time. But Star Fox 64 3D, they brought back all the original actors and they re-recorded all of those lines. And motion controls were here, which was always something that, again, it's kind of weird Nintendo. So I liked having that because you're doing, like this with your 3DS on the couch, and everybody in your family thinks that something might be wrong with you, but no, you're just you're just playing the 3D, or you're just playing Star Fox with gyro controls. And I felt like the 3D here was really good. The 3D like stands out. Like not a lot of people like the Nintendo 3DS because the 3D was hard on the eyes. I personally always turn the 3D on, especially for titles like this, because it's a part of the Nintendo charm. So yeah, I would put this in S tier, right behind Star Fox 64. I think that's kind of the leader of the bunch here. But Star Fox 64 3D, I feel like that's a safe bet because like if I had a kid right now, I'd probably let them play Star Fox 64 3D before they play Star Fox 64, just because it's a little bit cleaner and a little bit more of a kind of a fun title. And the Star Fox 64 is kind of like, hey, this is what history is. That's a little bit more of an old man take, I think. Mm-hmm. Are you okay with popping it right there in that S tier, behind 64?
I think it belongs in S tier just from the sheer, like I said, a fantastic remake. It is still a remake, so we can put it behind the original. I mean, the original is what got us here in the first place. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm thinking this list looks good, and then we just got, we saved the best for last. That's what we do.
We saved the best for last, arguably, maybe even the worst for last here. Yeah, Star Fox Zero. This was a Wii U game that tried to reimagine the Star Fox 64 formula with like a, kind of that big Wii U twist. I don't love this game. I unfortunately would put it behind Star Fox 2 even. So I would have to put this either here, but I'm gravitating more towards D tier. This is at a 69, nice, on Metacritic.
Ooh. So it's better than Assault, is what you're saying.
It's better than Assault by a lot of people's standards.
Crazy, but okay.
But this was also kind of a shinier title compared to Assault. So I just remembered that it kind of felt a little janky to me. And then I don't remember exactly how long this title was. Let me look that up. 6.5 hours, main story 5 hours, but completionist 20.5.
I don't know, it felt like 50 then.
Yes, I mean, it was so bad that it felt like it was a long game. So why do you think that? Are you okay with putting it in the D tier, or do you think it belongs more in the C- tier?
I'm okay with D tier. To me, this was such a disappointment. I feel like there's like how could you screw this up? But the gamepad just gets in the way so badly. The way the control system they tried to do, and it's even more shocking when you think about like stuff like Command, where they really took a risk with the way the controls are, and blew it out of the water. And then they do something with Star Fox Zero where it's like, we're going to force you to use the gamepad and you're going to love it. And they can't find the fun out of it. I also have, you say shinier, prettier than Assault. I'm going to say, I think 64 3D looks better than this game. I'm not a fan of the graphics. You, especially like, I mean, the Wii U is obviously stronger than a 3DS, right? Something about the art design, and it feels like it was really slapped together fast, that I just think it's kind of an ugly game. Where Star Fox 64 3D, I look at like what the way they elevated the original, and I think it brings in that epic space opera type sci-fi action that you imagine in your head when you first play or like when you think back on the first game. And Star Fox Zero is just trying to look like a Unreal Engine upgrade type thing, but like the most rudimentary version of it. Not a fan.
Yeah.
Like if you disagree, compare the water. Just compare the water effects. I'm telling you, like in Corneria, the water between them on the 3DS looks shockingly great.
I will say that the motion controls for this were really bad. Just the controls for Star Fox Zero were really bad. It felt like it was fighting you the entire time you were playing it. And it did feel like it lacked that like next big Star Fox feeling, right? I feel like myself, and along with other fans and maybe even you two, we felt like, we were expecting something bigger. I don't remember the online multiplayer, but I don't think it was like all that great, if I remember right.
Yeah, I know that there's like the co-op multiplayer where one person's shooting and the other person's flying, which kind of improves the gameplay a little bit, because the big issue is this cumbersome nature of dealing with shooting on the gamepad, then like looking up and making sure you're positioned well. So it's like one person there. It helps. It's not much of a help when it comes to Star Fox Zero.
Yeah, I feel like if there's a Star Fox title that needs a remake, just because of the byproduct of it having terrible original controls and updating the control scheme nowadays, would be Star Fox Zero. I think it would be a maybe not an amazing game, but at least a playable and somewhat decent game that could be fun for a couple of afternoons. But unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever see that, because this seems to be, unfortunately, the most hated Star Fox game of its entire catalog.
What are you talking about? We're about to get a remake of it too. I mean, Star Fox Zero might as well be a remake of 64 again. So.
That's it. This is true.
Star Fox on the Switch too is just a remake of Zero.
Pretty much
the better version we've always wanted.
Right. Yeah, I think that Star Fox Zero, I mean, I don't know even how many people really played it, because it was locked on the Wii U, and that was just an issue on its own. But it felt like it was kind of just another shitty retelling of Star Fox 64. It wasn't, a prime retelling, which hopefully we get with Star Fox, and just playing the demo. I think we're gonna be in for a really big treat with Star Fox for the Switch too. But before we jump over to that, so Star Fox Zero, that's landing in our D tier. Star Fox Guard, I admittedly don't have a ton of experience with this. Tell me, I'm going to let you kind of lead this one, because I know what it is, but I've never really played it. So tell me kind of where you think Star Fox Guard is, and what is this title? Yeah,
there's not much to say about Star Fox Guard. It's a pack-in game with Zero. Honestly, I kind of just roped them together as the mediocre D tier game they both are. Guard is almost like a tower defense-esque side mode where you're shooting robots and you have like all your screens on the top of the screen. You're looking down the gamepad to switch between the screens and shoot the robots, protect your tower, I guess. in this sense. It's a simple mode. It should have been in the game. I don't know why it was separated out as a separate game. Yeah, and I think it just sits right next to Zero.
Yeah, from everything I've heard, unfortunately. It's a shame that they didn't give you one decent title, packed in with Star Fox Zero. Instead, they're just both not great. One thing that we didn't add here to this list, for some reason, is Starlink. This is, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said you might not have a ton of experience with Starlink, or?
So, okay, after we talked our last time, we mentioned Starlink. I was like, I've always wanted to play this, never got around to it. I'm like, Star Fox ranking, this would be a perfect time to do it. Let me go try to find it. On the eShop, it's full price. And I'm like, I don't know, $30 for this Starlink game. I don't know. So I went around. I was like, I could bet it. I'm sure. I remember seeing this game everywhere in every store for like $2 on sale. No one was buying this thing. Let me look around. Went to a bunch of local game shops. No one had it, of course.
No way.
And I was like, oh, I'm sure the next one will. I'll get it tomorrow. And then we're here today, and I still haven't played Starlink. I do want to play it. I think I'll just bite the bullet one day and get the $30 one on the eShop, because I'm so interested in it. Like, please, like, tell me all about it, because I'm so interested in this idea of like Ubisoft making a space shooter and then implementing Star Fox into it just for the Switch.
Yeah, the peripherals were probably the coolest thing. And again, like I've said, I'm all about that like weird experimental kind of like peripheral titles for Nintendo consoles, and Starlink was one of them. And I don't know how you felt about the Mario and Rabbids title where Nintendo and Ubisoft partnered up. I actually really liked that title. For
yeah,
me,
cool.
Yeah, but for me, I think Starlink, unfortunately, was not at that same kind of tier as what Mario and Rabbids is. I think I look back on it a little bit more fondly than I did when I originally played it, because I remember when I originally played it, I did not like it. Nowadays, Starlink, I think, has some charm if you can find like the full kit. It's crazy that I'm looking at prices right now, like it's $50 on Amazon with the toys. And like I can't find the full like package, the Starlink Battle for Atlas, where it came with the R-Wing and it came with Fox. Like, this used to be $10.
That's gotta be a collectible. Yeah, that was my thought. I was like, I feel like I've seen this in so many game shops, just like randomly on the side. I can find it. Couldn't find it. I bet you that R-Wing toy is like a priceless artifact now. That's billions of dollars in one of these shops. I don't know, man. That's how game collecting is nowadays. But
well, I don't know. I found it for $30 brand new on eBay, and it's still in the box. I'm gonna send it to you. That way you can consider. Here, I'll drop it in chat.
The thing is, I was looking at, I'm like, I can do the digital version for $30.
Yeah, but then you can't use the peripheral. What do you do with the peripheral then?
I'm okay with. I don't need the peripheral.
You don't need the toy.
I don't need. All right, it'd be cool. I would actually think it'd be pretty cool to have as like a little, like a little statue for the R-Wing. But I don't need their Starlink toys. I'm not adding any other one but the R-Wing. That's my plan. But yeah, so it's just gameplay's not that great. Boring.
Yeah, I think it was just a part of it deviating so far from Star Fox, and it becomes this Ubisoft slop kind of game. It was basically a Star Fox game, but it was this Ubisoft open world space combat game where you like fight aliens, and I'm looking some stuff up because I arguably forgot about most of the story. So just based on Google, it's not really a Star Fox, but it's not really a Star Fox game, but it has Fox in it. That's kind of like the best way to describe it. Which, we were hurting for a Star Fox title at that time, and he was kind of one of the faces of this title. I mean, you put the R-Wing as the peripheral that you attach with selling this, so it felt almost disingenuous that this wasn't a core Star Fox game. I would love to learn a little bit more about the reasons why Nintendo and Ubisoft partnered up and why they did what they did. I feel like it'd be a good small mini documentary. For me, I think Starlink kind of goes in that C area as well. I don't think it's as bad as Zero. It's kind of right above that just because it was kind of cool that you could attach these different pieces onto your ship, and that would change in game depending on what you had on your like little toy. But unfortunately, it flopped, so we didn't get more of these. Like the idea would have been like we had a full catalog of these kind of like toys, like they were almost amiibos. They might have even been amiibos. And yeah, unfortunately, since it flopped, we're kind of left with just the R-Wing, and there might have been some other versions, the other peripherals. So you haven't played this at all then?
No, but I mean, C sounds about right to me. I mean, I would rather play a Ubi slot game than Star Fox Zero. So I'm like, C sounds about right.
Yeah, an important note here. This is an Ubisoft game with a Star Fox crossover, so it scratches the itch, but it's not officially Star Fox Assault 2. So yeah, if you go into it with that mind here, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, I should have read that in fine print on the box where it says not Star Fox Assault 2. I probably would have, saved myself a lot of excitement.
And then I'd be like, oh man, I'm not going to enjoy this anymore. Yeah. Well, the last one we have here is Star Fox, the upcoming game that releases June 25th, about a week and a half from now, the time we're recording this. I feel like this is going to be from just playing the demo alone, I was really, really surprised with this. And I know you haven't played the demo yet already, but I highly recommend you do. But if you don't, you just want to save yourself for it, I totally understand that. This is a really good game. Like, I think people are going to really enjoy this just based on the merits of the demo alone. Graphically, the gameplay is really good. The voice, the dialogue, the voice acting is really good. Like, it fleshes out Star Fox so much more than I thought it ever was. It's crazy you can take this like game and remake it 4 times and add so much lore and add so much depth and personality to these characters. So I cannot wait for this to come out. Who knows where it's going to land. I feel like it's safely going to be in the A tier area. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down to B, but I feel like it's going to flesh out somewhere into these 2 categories. What about you?
Curious. I'm so curious. What makes you think that it's not going to hit S?
That's a good question. Yeah, I mean,
what holds it back?
I think it's just maybe length. I don't know. I mean, Star Fox 64 obviously wasn't a very long game, but
meant to be replayed.
Yeah, and the fact that this doesn't scream that this is like a big multiplayer title. I mean, I know you can do a lot of multiplayer with it. I would love to dive into multiplayer with you when it comes out, but I don't know. We'll see. I feel like it's just going to be hard to top 64 or 64 3D, and given that we haven't had a great Star Fox game in the last 15 years, it's going to be tough for me to be like, oh yeah, Star Fox is on this like up and up for the last couple of years, so it has to be S tier. I feel like safely it's A tier, but I would love for it to be S tier. So, but where does your gut tell you that it's going to land?
I mean, my hopes are that it's S tier. I think that if it really is another Star Fox remake or a Star Fox 64 remake, I mean, I actually was probably more right the first time, then I don't see how it, like, unless they really screw up the gameplay or whatnot, I don't see how it would be less than S tier. Looking at their prior remake, though, with 64 3D, they knocked it out of the park there. This does look like the next evolution. When we talked about 64 and how that compares to Star Fox original and how it's almost like a remake of the original, but, using the technology today to elevate it to that bombastic, I've said that word a lot today, but that bombastic sci-fi epic that it wants to be. This just seems like the next step in that direction. We're taking the Switch to new technological leap, and retelling the Star Fox story in as cinematic, as beautiful, as awesome, as action-packed as possible. So if they can nail on that spectacle, which the trailers tell me that they are, and nail on that gameplay and not change too much, I could see it at S tier. But I mean, I'll have to wait and see. We only got too much long, so. Yeah,
totally. And I could totally see it from your perspective too. I mean, this is graphically, this is the best looking Star Fox game that we've ever had. And so just based on that alone, if they put all of their efforts into that, and with the demo being as good as it is, and kind of just the chatter online about people talking about the demo, I don't think anybody expected it to be as good as the demo was. And the fact that I think Nintendo just kind of shadow dropped it out of nowhere felt a little weird. Like, this might not just be like a big A tier, title. This might be just something for you to kind of chew on for a little bit until the Zelda Ocarina remake or whatever else comes out. But I would love to be pleasantly surprised. I hope this is like a 13-hour title with cool multiplayer and great gameplay and great voice acting. I think we're in for a treat. Either way, I don't see this below an A. I would hate for it to be below an A. If it does land in that area, Star Fox he's probably the most troubled IP from Nintendo. So that's kind of our list here. I'm pretty happy with this. How do you feel about this?
I feel good. I think it's a solid list. I think, please try to tell us we're wrong in the comments, because I don't see how any of this could be wrong.
I mean, I don't know. I feel like Starlink is really, more that we're talking, it's more A tier, feeling more
A. No, you're right. You're right. If you want to go in the comments and argue why Assault should be S tier, I'm not going to stop you. I might even join you.
It's going to be the battle of the adventures and the assaults just in the comment section.
Yeah, adventure versus assault. Yeah. I mean, that really does. It's an appropriate battle. It's an appropriate battle.
So to wrap us out here, Tyler, why don't you tell us what you think the most divisive Star Fox game here is on this list?
I think it must be adventure. Just because I think that because it's a solid game, but also has a lot of pushback on being a Star Fox game, is where people will clash, and it's basically about what their tastes are. So I think that really is the one. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say Star Fox Adventures as well. My heart was kind of thinking like Star Fox Zero for a second, and I was like, no, that's a universally hated game.
Yeah, I don't think people really bat for Zero. Because I don't think many people played it. It was a Wii U game. I mean, not many people owned a Wii U, so...
Unfortunately. Well,
they're suckers, they're cowards. As a Wii U child, it was amazing, and that's not the indoctrination talking. That is pure experience.
Give me 3 great, amazing Wii U titles off the top of your head, Tyler.
I'll give you them right now. We got 3D World, we got Wonderful 101, and we got, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. They're on Switch now. You're welcome.
Yeah. So I can just play them on my Switch.
Yeah, there's no reason to own a Wii U at all anymore after the Switch.
No. I think that is there any title still locked on the Wii U these days?
Oh, you know what? Oh my God, I forgot. Scratch Donkey Kong Country. No one cares about that game. It's Wind Waker HD, which is also a GameCube game.
This is also a Switch game that you can play on the Switch Online.
Hey, that's Wind Waker original. That is not HD.
My bad.
They have not released it yet. Twilight Princess HD also on the Wii U.
People are clamoring for it. People are clamoring for the HDs, just like they're clamoring for the Star Fox Zero remake.
I really think that's the only reason to have a Wii U at this point. So.
Well, Tyler, this has been fun. Tell us where people can find you and what your level of excitement is for the new Star Fox game coming out.
Yeah, I'm really excited for Star Fox. I can't wait to play it coming up soon. You can find me at SuitAndTyler on YouTube, make various gaming videos and whatnot. Check it out.
For all of your Star Fox coverage, follow us here on Joy Conversation. That's all for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, be kind, play on. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!